Hi everybody, welcome to the Steckline Report. Beef exports, good news there, friends. News out of Washington from a guy that I didn't know defends the COOL program. I didn't know exactly what his thoughts were on that. I guess maybe I wasn't listening very well. And we've got cattle death losses pretty high because of a growth hormone. Just a few of the items we're going to discuss on this Steckline Report. Stay tuned. In just 60 seconds, I'll be back.
I first got started in the cattle business. My wife and my father-in-law got me into it. I love dealing with the animals and being in the outdoors. At American Ag Credit, I know a lot of them are in the same business that I am. Therefore they understand what I need and what problems I'm against, so they can work with you on it, and it makes it much easier.
It's been passed down to me through the generations, and I want to pass it on down to the next generation or two.
For over 8 decades, America's farmers have counted on the little red tractor from Case IH, the Farmall, to help them make short work of their demanding chores. Well, Straub International can show you they aren't just for farms anymore. With horse ranging from 30 to 140, plus an army of attachments, a Farmall can tackle every chore on your to-do list, from hauling and mowing to loading and towing, and then some. Visit Straub International, your Case IH dealer at any of our 7 locations, to find a Farmall that's right for you.
Well, folks, beef exports not only were great last year, but they're starting off this year in fine fashion. Beef exports continued the strong performance last year, rising 13% in volume, 16% in value, primarily because of Mexico, Japan, and Hong Kong. And guess what? January beef exports were up 13% from January last year. That's the tonnage. Value rose 16%. And exports accounted for about 13% of our total beef production. So those are some interesting figures that probably some of us haven't thought about lately, but glad that we continue to increase those shipments across the water. By the way, speaking of that, I was wondering about the hog losses and the problems we're having with U.S. pork. Is anybody buying it because of the disease that's affected big time pork people across this country? Well, it doesn't look like it. The porcine epidemic diarrhea virus, that's the name of it. That name was so long I almost forgot about it. Hasn't affected U.S. pork exports yet, at least to Japan, because at a recent international food fair, the buyers and the sellers to people like Japan said, so far, so good, there hasn't been any adverse reaction. By the way, Vilsack, our Secretary of Agriculture, really vigorously defended the COOL, Country of Origin Labeling Program, at the National Farmers Union Convention recently. Now, you have to tongue-in-cheek now, we're talking politics here, and this guy's a politician, and we all know that the National Farmers Union has been a big pusher of the COOL program. And so consequently, when the politician talks to the people, he always wants to talk about things that they agree with. And so, consequently, that is not a surprise. The surprise is that he would that vigorously defend it, because there's some big folks not for that, as you well know. And they're primarily meat processors, National Cattlemen's Beef Board, and those kind of folks. In the meantime, not too happy about hearing the research that's been done on 2 beta agonists. They've been approved by the FDA for use in feedlot cattle. It's Optiflex and Zilmax. You've probably heard of those if you're in the cattle feeding business. In fact, Zilmax was removed from the market in August of last year after packing companies said that they would stop buying cattle fed that product. So right now I can tell you there's a problem with both of these, and I, for one, are saying I hope that we don't use them much longer. A couple of guys from Kansas State University, authors of a big test, and another guy from Texas Tech, found that the incidence of death loss, listen to this, the incidence of death loss among cattle administered these products was 75 to 90% greater than cattle not administered these beta growth hormones. This increase in death loss raises critical animal welfare questions, says one of the guys from Kansas State University. It's Dr. Thomason and Dr. Scott from Texas Tech. Dr. Lonergan. Legislation introduced recently to prevent EPA from releasing producer information. I hope this gets more attention. I'm not very happy to see that the representatives come from Arkansas, Nebraska, North Carolina, California, and nobody from Kansas or in some of our parts of the country that should be. I won't talk about that. But the Farmer Identity Protection Act comes in response to the EPA's release of livestock and poultry producers' names and other personal information we told you about several months ago. That needs to be stopped. I hope that bill gains some momentum. And record high milk prices, friends. That's being predicted by a speaker at the Professional Dairy Producers Association in Wisconsin. He says world milk demand is going straight up, primarily because of, guess who? One of the main leaders is China. In addition, he says the biofuel bloom has matured. A lot of additional demand for ethanol will not be needed. And he's predicting corn prices to average $4.45 this year, $3.65 in 2015, $3 in 2016. And, well, if all that takes place, might be well to be in the dairy business. You should be making some money now, and you might for the next 2 or 3 years, according to at least that one speaker. You make some more money tuning us in next time on the Steckline Report.